Geraldine Largay died less than a mile above a narrow-gauge railroad cut on the unnamed ridges of the eastern slope of the Reddington Range. In fact, she crossed this railroad road at a right angle and ascended the AT northbound. Dee Dauphiny, a veteran search and rescue worker and author, is writing a book about Geraldine's last days. We hiked up to about 3/4 of a mile from where she stepped off the trail for the last time to go to the bathroom.
So she walked, by her own reckoning, 3 to 4 miles. She texted her husband, having some trouble, please call a trail maintainer or the police and ask them what to do.
We want to go in at 340 degrees.
Doug Comstock guided us into the spot where Geraldine Largay died. On a rainy July day, in this forest beneath a dark canopy, she fought through Witch Hobble to the west, away from the trail. It appears she was climbing, apparently hoping for a cell phone signal so she could send a text to her husband, who awaited at the next trailhead. When she reached a ridge top, she could see another that was even higher. She would descend across the rushing brook and head uphill once again.
She worked hard and tried, camped out next to the second stream on the first night, kept trying to text. She texted that, resent that first text 7 times, but there's no cell service anywhere here for miles.
Geraldine got lost on Monday. She was reported missing on Wednesday. The next day, search teams started hasty searches, and Dennis Hogue, a volunteer who was taught at the nearby Navy Search and Rescue School, was among the experts fanning out in the area, trying to find just where Geraldine Largay was.
We came down between 2 no-name mountains, my search team, and our second search team was coming from Poplar, and we were converging on her cell phone ping. And as we came down, the terrain was so bad.
The Maine Warden Service feels confident that Geraldine has now been located.
The post-incident report includes maps where search teams went and where Geraldine Largay was found. What isn't known is how accurate her diary is. It's thought that she set up her final camp on the 3rd night, which means that Dennis's team might have gotten closest to her alive, perhaps 200 yards, and that bothers him.
I performed the search under the thought process that, if this was my mother, if this was me, I'd want to know somebody's always looking for me, and I couldn't let her family go on without giving them some type of closure.
We reached Geraldine's final resting place, but blowdown had changed things. In fact, a pine had fallen right on the cross, which now serves as a memorial. I questioned whether we should let the forest reclaim the spot, but Dennis, who had worked 2 hard weeks on the search and spent a few years thinking about it, immediately went to work, removing the blowdown and restoring the site. As they worked, we looked around. This was the highest spot around, but
The first time we got here, Doug was kind of giving me a moment, and I said to Doug, would you put a campsite here? He said, no.
it's haunting and tragic to examine this scene. Just to the west are some spruce trees, which Jerry tried to burn to signal rescuers, and yet a big birch with huge pieces of highly flammable bark was just 8 feet from her tent. She did tie off a space blanket in what she hoped was an opening in the canopy, and wrote that a chopper flew over but did not see her. Oddly, she had almost given up in the White Mountains, but a fellow hiker encouraged her to go on.
And she said, I don't know if I can take this rain. I can't, I think I'm giving up. And he said, hey, it can't be like this forever. Happiness is solar powered. And she liked that, put it in her journal and said, okay, I'm going to keep going. And she made it all the way to here.
It's almost unbelievable that she wasn't found. Hundreds of experts worked the woods, yelling, clapping, hitting trees with green limbs, and blowing special whistles.
This is what you'd want to try to signal somebody. And one of the thoughts also is if you're trying to signal somebody, you are then going to want to listen for their reply. So when you're blowing it, it's a good idea to plug your ears so that you don't kind of ruin your hearing.
It is thought Geraldine spent a lot of her time in her sleeping bag inside her dark green tent with mustard yellow flap. Wherever she was, it even confused the dogs who were being cast long distances just to start their searches.
We don't know, there's a lot of theories to that, and that's all it is theory, speculation. It could be because here she is, wind's coming from the north, blowing to the south, and it's trapping itself in the valley floor, and the dogs are hitting on it. The scent moves in a very odd ways, and
Especially
it
in the
can throw
mountains.
things off. And it was very windy during a lot of the times. Most of the search times were in unfavorable conditions.
Misinformation hampered the search, taking resources away from a single cell phone ping, which came from a spot about 700 yards from where Jerry died. A warden team was sweeping the woods, and Dennis's team was working toward them.
And we were snaking our way up when, again, a call came in, that other information came on that there was something over at Spalding and that they needed us to get to Spalding right away. So we split the team. We pulled off of the search down here. We split the team and sent 2 runners, myself and a guy named Ken. And we started taking off to get over to Spalding as quick as we could, heading up the AT.
It must be pointed out that in the backcountry you are responsible for yourself. Geraldine was a good hiker, but off the trail she had little skill and no experience.
She had a compass, a button compass, about the size of my fingernail, on the end of a keychain that also had a thermometer on it. Yeah, it's not accurate. Longer the needle, the more accurate the compass, but this needle was this long.
If she would have had a larger map, she would have seen that she was walking into wilderness.
Had she followed the old axiom that every Maine school kid knows, she could have followed the stream downhill and walked back to the railroad road in less than an hour. D. Dauphiny is writing a book in homage to Geraldine Largay, who he believes would want people to try the trail, but with the training that she did not have.
If she can save a couple of people, that to me is her legacy. I think it's lovely.
Perhaps as lovely as her memorial is stark, a simple white cross with loving messages from family and a painter's hat she wore in a half marathon, tucked away on a quiet hilltop deep inside the Maine woods.